Okay, everyone, welcome to our Wednesday roundtable where we discuss patients, difficult cases that we've had during the week. And we're here with all of our residents. We have Kylene here, who is the chief resident. And today we have an interesting case that we want to present to you. I'm going to take this microphone off so everybody can hear, so I'll just hold this. So tell her, you can hold it.
Okay. So this is our 58-year-old female patient. She presents to us with a whole host of interesting situations, including digestion. She has a lung lesion, insomnia, hot flashes, sinus congestion, fatigue, and allergies. And she comes to us. She's been somewhat ornery, I guess you could say, is her demeanor. Just exhausted, tired, and she doesn't really have time for this or that. And she's been very slow to make improvements with us. Even some of our natural, she had hot flashes. We put her on a plant-based estradiol. Didn't work. She went back on her regular hormone estradiol, and it took the hot flashes down by about 50%. We've done various techniques of tonifying her, but every time we tonify her, she seems to get even more ornery. And every time we start to take away or we start to do a moving formula, she's just not progressing very quickly, not as quickly as what I'm used to seeing for the types of patients we see.
Okay. All right, this brings up a good point. Let me just attach this. This brings up a good point, and that is, with pulse diagnosis, you can spot, somebody who has a weak, a qi or blood deficient or yang deficient or a yin deficient kind of condition. And sometimes you'll find people who are thin, who have this weakness, these weak pulses, and then you start to give them tonics and they get a little worse, or they don't get better. You have to look at the pulse very, very carefully. What it is you have a thin person. If you're not used to treating thin patients, and you're used to treating heavy patients, you're used to larger pulses or more deeper and muddy pulses. But with the thin patient, it's easy to misconstrue a weak pulse from a stagnant one or from a tight one. So we'll have to make a decision when you read their pulse. You have to make a decision, well, is the person, they're complaining of anxiety and tiredness and perhaps some irritability. A lot of times these people will not admit that they're irritable. And she might be one of them, I think.
Yeah.
She does, there's nothing wrong with me. So anyway, we gave her tonics with some movers. We always use movers. We never just get flat out tonics. But her improvement was like 10%, not very much. And I remember this gal, if you look at her pulse very carefully, you'll see that that liver pulse is tight. It is somewhat tense. And because she's so thin, you don't expect a big, thick, exuberant pulse. So basically, we just miscalculated her and misdiagnosed her. She's more of a kind of a qi and blood deficient kind of patient. And the tip-off is her demeanor. She's just flat, always unhappy, complaining about everything, but in a very appropriate way.
Right.
She's Japanese. She's very appropriate. But if you kind of see that she's not really happy, she's not at ease, that's a major tip-off that there's a problem in the liver. Yes, her heart's weak. Yes, her digestion's weak. Her thyroid's weak. But because she's so blocked up in the liver that if you make any attempt to strengthen her, it won't produce results. This type of patient you can spot very easily just by their demeanor. Go by the pulse and look at that liver pulse very, very carefully, especially if they're thin. And then you give them very strong liver herbs, which I believe is finally, you threw in the towel, and that's what you did the last time. We gave her Xia Ku Sao, Huang Shui Chiet, Zerza, Si Shi, Longu, Huzhang, Cha Chi Huang, and a little tiny bit of Gamai Datsao Tong because her pulse is so thin. And Gamai Datsao Tong is very sweet, and sweetness will soften a tight pulse. So whenever you have a really tight pulse, always there has to be some of the formula has to be sweet. And you can also use a lot of acrid herbs. Acrid herbs are always dispersing. And so she feels a little better. She's more talkative now. She'll never admit that she's better. We have another patient like this. I'll refrain from using her name. Now she's heavier, but she was very grumpy, with these very suppressed pulses that are blood stasis pulses. But because she's so ill at ease, we went after her liver because she does have a fatty liver. And it's amazing now when she comes in, she's laughing, she's joking with the practitioner, she's cracking up, she's laughing. How are you doing? Oh, about the same. It's a huge difference. So you have to be clever enough to look and see. When they're sitting there laughing and they were chewing out your front desk, they were chewing out everyone on the way back to the room in the first few visits, and suddenly now they're laughing and chuckling, you know that patient's getting better. They're definitely getting better. It's just that they're slow to admit it. That's one type. The other type are these thin types, and they're always very tense. So don't overlook that. You really have to look at these people's livers very carefully. And if you see it, on first touch, it looks like the liver is as weak as the heart and everything else. But if you hang out on that liver pulse, you'll see, actually, there's quite a bit of tension in that liver pulse. And that's really what you have to go after. Okay? So good. So we'll see you next week. Thank you very much. We hope this helps you.